Are you ready? Let's see.
Ah, there we
I'm in a
go.
different location these days. There. All right. We're back. It feels like it's been a few weeks, 2 weeks at
It's
least, if not.
2 weeks. I think 2 weeks. Last week you had
Okay.
a anniversary.
I did, in fact, have an anniversary, and I was sick for it, which seems to
Oh,
happen every time I go away. It's beautiful.
oh, okay. Where did you go?
Oh. But nowhere.
Oh,
We weren't feeling well, so nowhere. We stayed home. Yeah,
hmm.
unfortunately. I don't
Hmm.
know. It feels like there's a lot of stuff going on these days in terms of illnesses, and I just picked up something off the plane. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Tuesday. Yeah. So actually, it's a good thing we didn't meet up
Yeah.
because Tuesday and Thursday, my wife and I go to the gym
Hmm.
together, and um, I was feeling a little bit tired, and so I let her go without me, and I'm glad she did because I mean, then things no longer stayed in stomach, and got really bad for a
Oh no!
while, and so it's actually good that we didn't because I was, yeah, incapacitated.
Oh, that's
Um,
awful.
but
I'm sorry to
it
hear
was
that.
it was a weird sickness because I got my first symptom was probably around 12:30, um,
Hmm.
and and then I was super cold. Like I could not get warm enough. I
That
was
sounds like a
putting
fever.
layers and layers and
Okay.
layers, um, multiple jackets and blankets, and I could not get warm enough. And I ended up taking like a Theraflu night, or I forget what it's outside of the U.S.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and to kind of knock me out and let me sleep.
Right.
And that was probably maybe 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening.
All right.
And by about 9 o'clock, I woke up, and by about midnight, I was pretty much better.
Wow.
So it was a 12-hour period. Um,
Huh.
and yeah, it
I
was
mean, when we were
just,
younger, a 1 day flu was a whole other thing.
yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, then I was tired the next day, but and actually for a couple of days, but just tired. Just I was exhausted. But the actual symptoms, I mean, the main symptoms were a
Weird.
12-hour. I don't know what that seemed weird.
Interesting. Well, you're looking
Like,
trimmer. I don't know if 12 hours helped, or maybe it's
yeah,
the working out
yeah,
that you missed.
actually, it is a when I if you're trying to lose weight, I definitely recommend getting some sort of bug that like
Yeah.
flows everything out.
Just like
Um,
a full system clear.
yeah, yeah, it was very effective. And like the next day, I saw I lost like 5 pounds. Like, yeah, I need more of these.
Wow, I mean, a lot of water weight for sure is about 5 pounds.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Wow, that's a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah,
Listen,
yeah.
don't please, audience, do not listen to us for diet advice. Don't be licking the pavement trying to get sick. This is not a good plan. Stay
No,
safe,
no.
stay healthy out there. It's a long haul.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
Ah, maybe in my sickness, I finally decided to break down and buy Claude. So I bought it for a year. I
Oh,
think,
nice.
again, as a Canadian, I think I thought maybe I could lock in this price by paying for a year before, I don't know, the exchange rate gets all messed up and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And at the same time, I broke down and bought Windsurf. Now,
Hmm.
full disclosure, I already pay for Cursor, but
Hmm.
I've canceled like Adobe subscriptions and stuff like
Sure.
that. I've got my monthly bills, down to a
Yeah,
level where I'm paying money on AI tooling instead of like TV or movies, which is odd,
yeah.
but it does feel, to me at least right now, kind of like entertainment. There's a bit of
Hmm.
that, what do we call it? The virtuous cycle for developers
Right,
going
right.
on right now, where it's actually fun, and it's been a
Yeah,
long time since I've had fun developing. And that's
yeah.
not to say you can't do this with Olama. You definitely can. There are in fact
Definitely.
newer
Yeah.
models that we can talk about today that may help there. But yes, it's it feels like I've seen the light, and sadly enough, it looks like TypeScript is what's kind of put me over the edge. Is that like being able to learn front end in a way where I don't have to
Yeah,
deal with front end developers
yeah,
for advice is phenomenal. You know, people like Matt Williams that you might not have to talk to about like Dino or Bun or
yeah,
whatever. But it's surprisingly interesting to go through.
yeah,
And I have tried Dino, and I will say actually it's quite nice. I have zero
yeah.
complaints whatsoever. But it is really interesting for me to be able to demystify or
Hmm.
understand a whole area of coding that I really ignored for a long time. Like I've pushed this stuff to
Yeah.
prod, I've deployed it on millions of devices, and still I was just like, piecing through the code as I was improving it, going to prod.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I feel like there's some responsibility there that maybe I'm paying for now. But
yep.
yes, it's actually quite interesting to be able to learn a language, build really terrible apps, full
Hmm.
disclosure, but learning at the same time as I build them
Yeah,
is surprisingly awesome. I'm
yeah,
actually having a
yeah,
really fun time.
yeah. Cool.
It, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
one of the thing about like windsurf,
Mhm.
one of the neat little, not like a major feature, but just a nice to have thing. You know, having the automatic commit message generator. Um,
Oh, I haven't tried that yet. I still haven't
oh
hooked up
yeah,
to Git.
it works
Yeah,
pretty
I've
well.
got Hersek hooked up to Git, but that took a while to get to that point.
Yeah.
And even the repo that I pushed up, I was like, work in progress, completely broken. All these packages are old, kind of thing. This is a security
Right.
test. But yeah, I probably should try Windsurf as well because there's something interesting about so there's code and I'm honestly like making broken apps sort
Hmm.
of on purpose to check SBOM and security
Right.
provenance, lineage, that kind of stuff. There's something interesting once you push it into Git where you can start having the IDE help you with your GitHub actions as well and like run linter
Hmm.
tests and
Oh
stuff like
yeah.
that
Yeah.
as part of that process. And then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, now you're really cooking with gas. Like this
Yeah.
is this is actually a workflow where you can start doing stuff. It's surprisingly cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's. I've definitely had Windsurf build out all the GitHub actions that I've needed for all sorts.
Gotcha.
I mean, every time I've had to set up a GitHub action, it's like,
Yeah, I hate
it's so awkward and
it.
so
I love it in
awful.
Jenkins, used to
Um,
love it in GitLab, but I don't know what it is about GitHub Actions.
but
It feels like pulling
it's
teeth.
great. I mean, having
Yeah,
it do it and it gets it almost perfect the first or second time. It's amazing, and I
it's
can do things I didn't know I could do before.
right. That's what I've noticed is that in an area where I don't know a lot about the
Hmm.
subject, I found that it's actually really helpful for learning, like learning
Hmm.
new techniques. And maybe I don't remember the code, but I'll remember that the technique's there,
Yep.
and I'll come by later to try to do the same technique, which is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
What have you been up
But
to, my friend? Have
I've
you
not
been?
actually bought any
Oh,
of the.
go
I
ahead,
mean,
sir.
I had a subscription to ChatGPT up until I don't know, 8 months ago, 9 months ago. Well, more than that. Yes, a while back. And I don't think I've ever
Hmm.
had a direct subscription with Claude or Anthropic, other than for both ChatGPT and Claude having API keys and paying per per usage. So set up, I think with Claude, I meant like put a $25 amount, and then they keep eating from there until it gets used up, and then it fills it up again. Um, but seems to take forever to use up $25 for most of what I'm doing. Um,
I I give it five, and it's been 2 weeks at this point in time, just on
yeah,
$5. But
yeah. I don't know why. Maybe I assumed I would need 25, and I just paid that. But I'd say it's been 4 months.
that's amazing.
And yeah,
That's amazing. I almost feel like paying Claude for Pro is a waste of money because most of my usage is on the API side. So I may actually
yeah,
end up canceling the chat side. Claude's great. Again,
yeah.
don't get me wrong, but I do feel like in terms of that interface, so
And
just sort of
yeah,
chatty thing, I don't know. ChatGPT seems to be a little bit better for me, but
yeah,
maybe that's
and that's why I only subscribe through Raycast, and
right.
for the plus plan. So it's like, I don't know, I pay Raycast $20 a month or something like that, and
Right.
then it gives me Claude and all the others, all in one subscription.
Now, since you're using Raycast, are you using any other of the desktop apps? Because Claude's got one, ChatGPT's got one. I think Perplexity might have one now as well. Okay, what's interesting is they're all trying to use Alt Space, and it's like it's a race condition. So I've got it
Yeah,
now where I can trigger one and then the other one triggers behind it, but like the last one's not being triggered. It's kind of interesting. But
yeah,
there's three apps trying to grab that keyboard shortcut, which I
yeah.
found pretty funny. It's
And
like
can you
Alt
not?
Space.
Can you change it to something else?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But
Okay.
I want to see, what happens. Like, it was like, what is the path of chaos? What
So
happens if I don't?
right. So what I would, I mean, I think in that case, if I wanted to have all three of them, be able to respond to that, have them all a slightly different um, keyboard shortcut, and then have like Keyboard Maestro in
Hit
front,
all three.
and then Alt Space, and it brings up a auto, if Keyboard Maestro has two requests that have the same keyboard shortcut, it gives you a little on-screen menu, and you can choose between the two. Um, and so I just like doing that kind of stuff, and that way I've got, oh, I'll do ChatGPT this time or whatever it is. So have you ever
I,
used Keyboard Maestro?
yeah, absolutely. And I felt like I guess what I thought was every app that's going to come along is going to go into system prefs and change the keyboard shortcut. That is not what happened because I wouldn't be able to call it. It's calling two right now. I think Raycast listens for the keyboard shortcut as well while it's running and it starts when it boots up. And then the other apps have actually gone through and just overwrote themselves in the
Right.
what's it called, the P list, just saying like
Mm.
I'm the app of record for this
Right.
keyboard
Right.
shortcut. But Raycast is the odd one out here in that it seems
Mm.
to always listen, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, Keyboard Maestro is good. What's the other one? There's a like a guitar icon, hammer, spoon.
Oh, hammer spoon. It's a
I
spoon with
think
a hammer on it.
it's a guitar.
It's a hammer and a spoon. Not a
For some
guitar.
reason, I thought that was a guitar. It's
I mean,
definitely
the
it's
closest thing I
definitely a
can think
hammer
of
and a
is
spoon.
like Hazel. Hazel is like a broom, but you could kind of say it's like a one of those axe-like guitars. But
Uh, yes, I legit thought hammer spoon was like the opening of a guitar, so I just looked at it now. It's fairly obvious what it is.
a
It's an
hammer
odd
with a
guitar.
spoon.
Indeed, it's kind of like a spork. Well, except they're on definite. It's not at all like a spork. Ignore me.
Yeah. No. No. It's
So I've been spending my time trying to create how do I say this? Bad apps, broken apps. It
hmm,
started with Replit, and then I ended up going into. I'm trying to think of the name of it now. There's a few of them with the same. Oh, Bolt. I tried to play around with Bolt,
okay.
play
Yeah.
with Replit, play with V0. And what
Hmm.
I'm noticing is a lot of these apps, and again, they're great. Don't get me wrong. They tend to spit out things with old versions, incompatible open source licenses,
Hmm.
and actual security issues.
Yeah.
And I think what's really interested me is that they they're so broken that it becomes like an observability kind of quest.
Hmm.
It's like I could create a repo of 60, 70 different broken
Right.
microservice apps and then put them out into a quote unquote prod and then see what happens. But it feels like so the first one I put out there,
Which
I actually did
which would then
deploy.
be more for these models to train on, bad
Oh,
practices for them to train on.
yeah, right. Yeah, it needs to stay broken somewhere.
Yeah.
But I'm at the point now where I can kind of prove the value of understanding your
Mhm.
SBOM or proving,
Right.
why you should be responsible about your variables. I did push one out to Netlify, and I swear within an hour, my Supabase API key, which I hadn't protected properly, was used and someone emptied the database. But it
Oh,
feels
really?
like it's a really easy way to create what do you call them? Honeypots? It's a
Yeah.
really easy way to create honeypots. Obviously, be careful with your API keys.
Hmm.
But yeah, what I didn't understand is how to expose an API key that a client will use in a browser app where you can't discover that API key in order to talk to a
Right.
database, which
Right.
is it's a non-trivial issue.
Yeah.
It's
No.
like there's
No.
a few ways around it, but yeah, it's non-trivial.
Yeah. Yeah,
which
I mean,
is kind of fun.
anything that I've created, well, pretty much everything that I've created using Windsurf, I always put behind a private repo. I don't share. I mean, I might talk about it,
Yeah,
but I'm not, and I'm never putting those keys in a
yeah.
accessible way. I mean, so with yeah, I mean, just don't do it.
I think the solution, at least going through some of it, and again, this is just me learning front end, but it seems like a lot of it is uh, like a disassociation between what we consider front end and back end and
Hmm.
what actually runs kind of quote unquote on the server versus in the
Hmm.
browser. And instantiating anything with server keys or API keys or what have
Right.
you in a browser can be problematic unless you're doing something like a JOT or a token
Right.
key request kind of workflow,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So again, I'm learning something here, which is good,
Right.
but also it was a bit of an eye opener when I think it was Netlify or it was Next.js actually had that security problem about two
Hmm.
weeks ago. I
Hmm.
started thinking about it and I was like, oh yeah, I'm actually doing something dumber than that over here. Like I'm not even there yet.
Yeah.
I've already failed kind of thing. I'm definitely
Yeah.
on the junior engineer side for front end stuff.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. I mean,
it's a learning process.
and so many. I mean, with tools that are that make a lot of this really hard stuff easy, it becomes so much easier for people who don't know what they're doing to really shoot themselves in the foot. And I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of the problems with Olama. I mean, Olama is designed as a, it's a developer tool that's meant to be run on, your desktop or
Right.
your it, people are using it as a server solution,
Absolutely.
but it's really important that if you're going to do that, you're going to put the stuff in front of it to stop
Yes.
other people from just using it. And but I mean, people don't know that, and they just put it on, get a server, put it on that server, ports wide open. It's a pretty well known port for wait, whatever
Lava,
it
right? So
is,
at
11314
14
one
334.
11343 434.
Yeah, the
And
M's are threes, which is what threw me off, I
right,
think.
right. I get it the wrong way each time, but
Same here.
because it's well known. I mean, you can change it. It's easy enough to change it, but if you knew enough to change it, you'd also know enough to protect it
Right.
behind a Nginx proxy or some other proxy that does the authentication authorization. But most people just don't know this stuff, and they just assume, well, that's
Yeah.
Olama's responsibility. Well, no, it's that you're using it in a very different use case. But
Yeah, yeah.
and then a lot of people don't realize that Olama is a developer tool. Um, and
Yeah, there's like types of attacks that they're not aware of, right? So the first one to
hmm
me is like a llama, like a like a wallet attack, I guess would be the first
hmm
one. Like people don't understand that what can an API key be used for? Or like, listen, you got into Olama,
hmm
what are you gonna do? Like, oh, well, I'll use your GPU as much as I
right, yeah,
possibly can, kind of. But they don't understand that that's like there's an opportunity cost there as well.
right,
That like the
right,
GPU is gonna slow down, so what you're trying to do
right,
it can't be used, and it's a problem. Or they're
right.
using some external provider, and I actually do feel like Claude is responsible in having you set a limit for that API key usage.
Hmm.
$25 is a lot actually, but
Yeah,
like five
yeah,
bucks, which I think is the default, is probably rational for a web app. So you
yep,
won't go over that kind of thing. It it feels like that. I think with
yep,
maybe like a Google or something like that, where the output tokens are really cheap, you could have even more people like building a business on the
right,
backs
right.
of open API keys or what have you. But it does look like there are things that people don't understand in terms of natures of attack, like
Hmm.
just
Yeah,
make bogging down your
yeah,
turn feathering your
yeah,
application, that kind of thing, or maybe just keeping your app busy so it can't service other users, like
right,
your competitors, that kind of stuff. But they're not aware of this sophistication or the reasoning behind it, like the outcome that the attackers are looking for, so they don't know to
yep,
protect against it. And it's not that they didn't know; it's that they didn't know to ask what the
right.
problems were in order to know, and as a result aren't secure.
Unknown
It feels like
unknowns.
security is like security, maturity,
Yeah,
guidelines, guardrails, all that stuff is really, really important now.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
I certainly
It's
exposed Olama to the web by mistake, and
I
in
mean, there
Kubernetes
are
as a
there are
service, but
search
still.
engines. There are search engines you can use to look for, show me all the servers with this port exposed.
Right.
And now, boom, you've got 50 or 100 or 1,000 Olama servers to start doing free calls to.
Yeah, I had to Google it because I forgot, but a Shodan is one that I used to use that can
Yeah,
easily
yeah,
find you ports
yeah,
that are open. Um, a lot of times I'd be looking for stuff like in a certain region or something like that, just because I know like we've got
yeah,
this IP address space, it's ours, but there are
right,
people out there using Shodan as essentially a threat hunting API,
right,
which
right.
yeah, it's pretty scary for sure.
So, you know, it's one thing to mention it, but every now and then, like on the Aloma Discord, I've seen somebody share a URL that says, "Click this URL, and you will see 500 servers that are available." Do you think that sharing that URL to a wider audience of people that don't know is a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah, so like I mentioned the tool by name and I did
Yeah,
that on purpose, but it does feel like I'm more on the side of education. So I'd be more of a
yeah,
gray hat engineer as opposed to
mm-hmm,
white
mm-hmm,
hat or black hat. Like I'm not a hacker. I've certainly
yeah,
secured systems before, but it does to me feel like knowing that this is a system that people can use to get intelligence about
right,
you, open source intelligence, OSINT, is important for people to know. And if they
sure.
don't know,
And I think
if you don't
I think
scare
sharing
them, they
that,
won't be scared
yeah,
into like compliance kind of thing.
I mean, sharing the name of it, I think, is important, and that way people can
Oh,
find
you
it,
mean the actual
can
search?
research it,
Mm,
and learn about the tool and understand how to use it, or just give them the URL and they just click it and get the answer. Um,
yeah.
I think that is almost a line not to cross to make it. I mean, it's easy. I mean, once you do a little research, but you have to do the little bit of research. I
Not
don't know.
in. I'm I'm kind of anti link sharing with social
Yeah,
networking, and I'll explain
yeah.
why here in a second. Because I can set up a
Oh yeah.
URL and a server, and I can do whatever I want, and as soon as you
Hmm.
hit it, I've got your IP address, which is like
Yeah.
a whole other thing. People aren't like, and then I
Right.
can scan you for what was it, 11434 to make sure
Right. Right.
it's not open, kind of thing. Yeah, it's not great. So the first thing I do is be like, oh, here's an image I generated. Just did
Yeah.
this in DALL-E a little while ago. What do you think of it? And then I grab all the IPs of the people in the Discord who have hit the link,
Hmm.
and I'll check them all to see if the port's open, which is
Oh there.
awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully,
Uh,
I'm not cracking up. Sorry, I'm on Wi-Fi here, so I noticed I slowed down a little bit there. But let me know if the connection's bad.
okay. I think we're good. And
Awesome.
me too. I mean, my connection disappears for no reason too. Every now and
Oh,
then.
there you go. Yeah, I'm having internet problems over here. But
Yeah.
have you tried any of the newer models? So I played with two yesterday. One was Llama 4. The other was, oh shoot, I've already forgotten the name. There was another new model launched yesterday, I think
Yeah.
by Google, that I was playing around with.
Yeah. No, I
Have
have
you
not.
tried Llama 4?
I
Okay,
have
'cause I
not.
have, but I've only tried it on LM Arena.
Hmm.
And what was the other one that we tried? So Jason Hand and I were doing a quick chat yesterday. And we
Hmm.
went through LM
Which I
Arena.
still
We
haven't
went
been invited
through.
to.
Well, listen, we'll have to get you on to talk about windsurf because obviously I don't know what I'm talking about. The other that we tried was Hugging Face, and Hugging Face does have a little playground, playpen,
Hmm.
whatever that you can play
Yep.
with. It doesn't have the 10 million context window, or even 1 million if you're using
Mm.
the middle of the road model. But the results that I got back for it were I don't know. I don't want to say disappointing, just like felt
Yeah.
normal, if that makes sense. They weren't any better or any worse. It felt like an open source Sonnet 3.5, which is saying a lot. That's
Hmm.
that's like
Hmm.
actually awesome.
Hmm.
The question I gave it a few times, which it got wrong. We'll see if you know the answer to this one. It's a bashism. So if you have to type sudo apt-get, sudo apt-update, sorry, ampersand sudo apt-get upgrade. Is there a way you could write this command without retyping sudo and without retyping apt? Now, the sudo part it gets most of the time. The apt part it will fail.
Is it just sudo bang bang?
No, it's parameter expansion. So if you put them within,
Okay. I
yeah,
don't
and
know.
then you can like expand the braces kind of thing. But it's fairly advanced for Bash, but it's one of those
Hmm.
things that a lot of these models will get wrong. It got
Right.
wrong. Sonnet 3.7 will typically get it right. 3.5
Hmm.
will almost always get it wrong. But it's just
Hmm.
one of those like like I don't want to say advanced Bash because it's not, but it's like most
Right.
people don't write a lot of
Sure.
Bash. Unfortunately, I do like
Right.
Bash just because it runs everywhere, so I'm a big fan of it. But it's not a great programming language. Again, please don't take my advice. Don't dive deep in the back. The other thing I was asking models just as test because I saw some videos from the AI engineer, I think it's Summit that happened in New York a little while ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of them was from a presenter, I think it was at Jane Street. They were also referring to Bloomberg and
Right.
Facebook, but all three of those companies run OCaml. And if they're doing
Mm-hmm.
Python, it's OCaml to make Python, or if it's TypeScript,
Right.
it's
Right.
JavaScript for OCaml, that kind of thing. They even do use VRML, or they'll make things in FPGAs, that kind of thing from OCaml, which is awesome. But the statement was, hey, most of the world's OCaml may exist within my building. And if it doesn't, then chances are it's my competitor's building or it's
Right.
Facebook. And between us three companies, this is kind of the lion's share of OCaml out there. So a lot of these models, unfortunately, aren't trained on our code. And it's not that the code's like great or bad or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. It's just like, okay, now how do I train a model on my code, and what does that look like? And I'll jump through the rest of the presentation, but
Mm-hmm.
the lion's share of it was looking at features that landed as commits in GitHub from broken to fixed seemed to be the thing that they settled on. They couldn't use
Right.
commit
Right.
messages because they have empty commit messages, and they
Mm-hmm.
cherry pick because they use Mercurial and use GitHub as a
Mm-hmm.
storage device, and it's a
Uh-huh.
whole interesting problem where
Huh.
it's like if you're not using what is it like TypeScript and Supabase and I don't know Next.js or something like that, then a
Right.
lot of these code generators won't be able to generate the code that you want.
Yeah.
Python's probably okay. Java, I've noticed, is okay at, but in some
Yeah.
different languages, it's going to be a bit of a mess. So I've noticed that the Rust code that it spits out will often not work, and this is Llama 4, sorry,
Mm.
just not work. But that could be me. It's also
Right.
brand new. Maybe there's some training wheels or
Right.
something like that that need to be taken off. But it's interesting to see that like yeah, TypeScript seemed to be fine, Python seemed to be
Right.
okay. Got stuck on advanced bash, quote
Okay.
unquote advanced bash, and
Mm.
in Rust it felt like the code just didn't compile from what I was working
Right.
with. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's something hampered, I guess, in the way that they're
Mm.
sharing it on Hugging Face.
Mm. Mm. Wow. I mean,
Anyways,
yeah,
time to learn Rust,
yeah. I don't
obviously.
know.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I haven't played around with any of the new things. I don't know why. Why haven't I done that? Um,
And, and do you have like a prompt that you're using between models to test them out? Like when there's a new Gemma or a new.
yeah. So there's about 14 prompts that I use now.
Okay,
And I am trying to grade them on the same scale.
gotcha.
And um, and I haven't done a lot of models with that, but probably six or seven. Um,
Okay.
and I'm starting to do more and more of those, and do them on the channel. Um, and they seem, yeah, it's an interesting. I mean, it's one of many approaches to take. Yeah,
Yeah. And like again, because I like to measure stuff, ignoring the day
yeah,
job. Like for me, it's like time to first token is
hmm,
interesting.
yep,
Mostly because people have a certain patience level that
yeah,
they've got now,
yeah,
but they won't have forever. So 10 seconds seems to
yeah,
be anything longer than 10 seconds. It's like, is it broken? That kind of thing for
right,
time to first token. The other is, I think you talked about tokens per second when
hmm,
we were chatting last time. Yeah. So
yeah,
how quickly can it spit stuff out? Because a lot of times we'll be streaming from the API to
right.
figure out when the next character or token comes through.
So with that, with tokens per
Hmm.
second, for some models that don't do thinking,
Reasoning.
they
Yeah.
will
Yep.
that time to first byte, time to first token. There is that first token is the beginning of the actual answer. Um, and so tokens per second makes sense because that it's just that it's spitting out the answer, and tokens per second is great.
Right.
But what about where there's these thinking model, and it's like in within a think and think bracket that does all
Right.
this stuff, and then it comes up with the answer. Is the time to the first token getting to the real answer, or do you count all that garbage up top? And tokens per second, do you count all that stuff in the tokens per second? And one thing I've been doing in my testing, to kind
Hmm.
of put these things on the same um, rating scale, is look at both. Considering all the thinking process, but also having a uh, tokens per second is okay. Take all the tokens that were generated. Now take all the ones that were thinking. So subtract the thinking tokens
Oh,
from
okay.
all the tokens to come up with my tokens, and then figure out the time taken and divide it up so that it's that divided by the full amount of time, and that's the tokens per second. And so it's a lot worse.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so I'm still torn about whether I should count the thinking part as part of the answer,
Yeah.
because sometimes in the thinking, especially like DeepSeek. I mean, DeepSeek was the first of the big models to really do that.
Yep.
The first of the publicly available ones to do that.
Yep.
And I found so often it would, get the right answer right up front, and then spend another 8 minutes. This is on
Right.
that machine that's got eight H100s,
Right.
fast machine, and it takes 8 minutes to go through all its thinking stuff, has the right answer in the first, 5 seconds, and then comes up with a wrong answer as its final answer. Um, and it happens so often. And I mean, people love the being able to see how it thinks. You're not really seeing how it thinks. Um, and you end up with a wrong answer anyway. And so you're waiting
Right.
all this time, and you get garbage. Um,
Right.
and yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know where I
I
was going.
totally agree.
Yeah,
So, well, no, I hear you. So there's the research modes, I guess, or the research modality, which is like we'll
yeah,
put that aside for a moment because like presumably all of the research done is important and handy,
hmm
and I can do my own research with the links, that kind of stuff.
hmm
Awesome. On the reasoning models, I feel like if you're getting any value out of the that rationale kind
yeah,
of portion of it, then yeah, time to first token matters because the rationale is important to you.
hmm
But I agree, if the answer is all that matters at the end, so the
hmm
veracity, evaluating the veracity of the answer at the end is important for sure, but it feels like you're just wasting time. And you're right,
yeah,
like 8 minutes might actually be
yeah,
short. If that
yeah,
might be fast. The
yeah,
the deep thinking or the deep research or research ones, I've noticed like at least with ChatGPT, that could take half an hour. And I don't know if
yeah,
it's other people out there generating Ghibli images because they finally
yeah,
freaking understood style transfer like
mm.
that and again I'm saying this kind of pejoratively, but it's cool they're getting the memo. Style transfer is interesting. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Obviously, I think there's a lot more to that model than that, but
yeah,
that's cool. Um, as a result, though, waiting 30 minutes for something can be pretty awful.
hmm
Speaking of, I've gone through a couple of them. Like, here's a YouTube playlist. Please grab all these transcripts,
right,
go through them, and look for themes from this last conference, for example. So,
right,
AI Engineering Summit. Sorry to bring them up multiple times in
right,
this one.
right,
I was sick. I was definitely going through that content while I was sick.
hmm
But had to go through it, and I think it took 35 minutes. Now,
yeah,
the results were so-so, I guess. Like
yeah,
if I sent an engineer to that conference and they gave me that output as a summary, I would say it was very naive approach to making
right,
themes from a
right,
like from a summit or from a conference. That being said, being able to do all that work in 30 minutes is pretty good. In fact,
hmm hmm
it's you gotta like remember how long it would take me to go through and
right,
like
right,
even if I just had to grab the transcripts and then send them off to ChatGPT, I feel like that would take longer. So it's I guess what I'm trying to get to is I feel like judging models that perform differently against each other is unfair. Like Llama 4 is a mixture of experts, for example, and I've
hmm
yet to get it
yep,
running on a GPU, so I can't tell what's loaded into memory and what's not. But I have a
right,
feeling that it's going to be a little bit different, and that there's going to be one an assessment of problem, kind of step. And then two,
Right.
there's a farming out of problems or portions of the problem to the experts and loading them into memory,
Hmm.
unloading them, and then loading the next one in is what I'm assuming. We'll see what happens. Is going to be the case. So it's difficult to, like, unless you're measuring against Mistral, it's kind of an unfair comparison in terms of the way that it
Hmm.
works. One, in terms of latency, because there's going to be the load and unload,
Right.
but also that little that routing process, I guess, in the beginning,
Right.
it is also it feels like LangChain's kind of like built into LLMs now. Sorry, that's unfair to LangChain. I know it can do a lot more than that, but like that code that you'd be doing is in there, and it's not
Unfair to the
true.
model.
It's unfair to the model as well. Yeah. I don't know why everyone's hating on LangChain. It feels like they were there first, but yeah, the hate
They
is
were
pretty
totally there
common these
first.
days.
Yes, absolutely. And that is their main benefit.
Right. Yeah, you've lost your moat. Moat. I think a lot of people are talking about LangGraph these days.
Oh
Is what
yeah,
I hear
yeah,
about more often. Is that
yeah,
that track? Okay, good stuff. Good
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, but it does feel unfair. And then when I'm comparing like an R1, so DeepSeek R1 to is it O3 or O3 Mini?
Hmm.
On the ChatGPT side it doesn't show all the steps. So it's like
Yeah, no.
so, and then the time to first token is really slow as a result. Like it can be up to a
Hmm.
minute just to
Yeah.
start the reasoning portion, which is
Right.
like I mean I know you're doing something. What
Right.
happened
Yeah.
in this minute? Like
Yeah.
maybe that's where the value is. The other thing you're saying is that when it starts with the right answer and then goes, "Oh no, did Matt mean this?" or maybe they meant this, and
Yeah.
I should look at different angles. Yeah, they probably meant this, and then they give you
Yeah.
the wrong answer. I feel like there's value in there in that reasoning process. Ideally, it
Hmm.
wouldn't fail in the end, or
Right.
the veracity would be true, which would be great.
Right.
But there is some value in there in terms of the prompt engineering. But that's where the value is to me is more about fixing your prompt next time than
Yeah. Yeah.
anything else. It's more
Like
like a test.
one of the prompts is basically just come up with a haiku for, and I forget what the actual topic is. And a haiku is, what, 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables, right?
It depends. There's different patterns, but also does it spit it out in Japanese? Because like that's what I would do to
No.
you,
So
which is
it's
cool.
in
Which is
English,
cool.
and sometimes it'll be like, the first one is exactly right on. Perfect.
Right.
Awesome. And then the answer is, 15 syllables and then 6 syllables and then 12. Like, what? What?
Yeah, this feels like the compounded strawberry kind of issue, like the counting the R's, or like,
Yeah.
please give me an answer that's exactly 200 tokens, and then it
Right.
spends
Yeah. Yeah.
2,000 tokens trying to give you something that's 205
Yeah.
tokens. Like it's
Right.
actually
Right.
messing up.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I did want to ask just quickly though, as a sidebar, when you were talking about subtracting the tokens, are you
Hmm.
using the LLM's token, like which tokenizer are you using? Because those are different as well, depending on the tokenization
So
approach
in
that you're having.
Olama, when
Mhm.
the last object that you get back is
Gotcha. And the debug.
number of tokens
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
output and how long it took. So there you've got those. You've got the tokens per second.
Gotcha.
And in my code, my little tester tool, I
Hmm.
have it. I know what the end symbol is for the thinking thing.
Yep.
And so when that happens, that's the timer that says, okay, this is how long it took to get to this point. And
Gotcha.
this is how many tokens it took to get to this point because
So you
it's
retokenize it,
spitting
count the
out each
tokens.
token. Yeah, it's
Gotcha.
spitting out each token as a separate message. And so there I've got it's 600 messages in. It's it is this many seconds in, and that's where it's ended its thinking and now continues.
Awesome. This came up a few times at GTC in terms of like
Hmm.
what people want to monitor, what they care about
Right.
is cost actually, and
Right.
tokens end up being unfortunately like a proxy for cost because
Hmm.
it's you typically pay by token, it's not per
Right.
hour or what have you. If it's a GPU, I mean there's a whole other set of math you have to go through in order to
Yeah.
figure out your return on investment. But for something that you're renting or leasing or
Hmm.
borrowing on the cloud, this does seem to be the right approach. But I have noticed that people get a little bit confused about tokenization. Your answer is perfect. Like use the
Mm,
same tokenizer that the model uses. Don't go out
right,
and grab another one and start playing
right.
around or
No.
playing with the system prompt or like stay out of all of that. Just count the
Hmm.
tokens. Like leave it as it is first, which is interesting. I thought it was pretty rational in terms of an approach, but it didn't seem to be
Yeah,
common in terms of
yeah,
like yeah, you need to count like
yeah.
your ingest tokens and your output tokens because like
Right,
people forget about their system prompt. Anyway, there's a whole
right.
bunch of little things that people don't realize
And
will add
you
up
know,
to the cost.
with Olama, it defaults to a 2K 2000 token context,
Right,
2048 tokens
right.
context. And some of these models will support 200,000. So you can definitely say use 200,000 tokens as your
And people
context,
don't know that.
which
Yeah, people don't know
no,
that
oh
that's
yeah, oh
tunable
yeah, I
either.
know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I often will default to 16K or
Okay,
32K, just because I don't need much more than that, and if I do, I can
right,
change it.
right.
But at 30, let's say 16, or well, let's say 32K, 8 minutes of generating stuff, you've used up almost all of your context.
Yes.
And you haven't got to the answer. In fact, there were a few times where I had to like keep bumping up that context size because I ran out of context and it just gave
Can you
up.
do that? Can you do that in the same session? Oh, you're starting a new
You have
session.
to,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and actually it needs to reload part of the model each time you change the context size.
That makes sense.
So it's not you load up the model, which takes a long time, and then change the context size because you have to reload that model, which is annoying.
I think it's rational.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
in terms of the like, I know they're not layers, but in terms of the
yeah,
composition of the model, it makes sense to me.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, that was a long rant, but that's what I've been up to. Summarizing, which I think we've proven at least that Gen AI is pretty good at summarizing, and then finding novelty is kind of what I've been doing, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
generating like just the worst despicable please don't run me using prod apps in Vite or Vite or whatever
Right.
has been what I've been playing with a lot. But yeah, it's kind
Yeah,
of fun.
yeah.
Have you watched any TV series or anything? I finally
I
watched
we
Severance.
Oh,
I can
okay.
like anti-recommend saying Severance. Do not watch it. It's boring as heck.
Oh, really?
Unpopular opinion.
I I started watching the first 20 minutes of the first episode. I thought, this is, I'm not interested. So I've never watched any of it.
Good
Well,
on you. The
20
second
minutes.
season is that to a T for me at least. It was
Mm,
completely uninteresting. My spouse tried to watch an episode and like this is boring.
right,
Nothing like
right.
5 minutes has passed and no one said anything.
Yeah, yeah,
Like fair.
yeah. Um, we just finished the 1923 season two,
Yeah.
which
What'd
was
you think?
great. Yeah.
Stellar,
Uh,
right? It
yeah,
like
fantastic. I mean,
yeah.
it is definitely a little bit, the way that like, I mean, it holds your attention for, because the episode ends and you got to wait till the next week. It's like
Yes.
um,
Like, no.
but it was great. It was a great final episode. I assume it's the final episode. It was 2 hours long and took it like kind of closed all the loops. Um, and so I think we'll cancel Paramount now.
Paramount Plus, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few other shows that look pretty interesting, like Mobland with
Right.
Pierce Brosnan
Mhm.
and Helen Mirren again.
Right.
So that looks, and the first episode was actually pretty good, but I don't think it's good enough to hold on to for whatever $25 a month.
And have
Um,
you watched Tulsa King? It's more of an
no,
anti-recommendation.
no,
Watch
that
at
looked
least an
terrible.
episode. It's not
Because it's
great,
like
but it's
Sylvester Stallone, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why would I waste my time on that? I don't know.
It's like oh, I'm trying to think of this show. It's like Wish.com version of Weeds, but there actually was I think there's a show called Up in Smoke or something like that as well that's
Hmm.
like more comedy based, but it's definitely
Hmm.
like mobster tries to run a small town weed
Okay.
store or
Yeah.
what do they call them in US head shop? And it's kind of like
Dispensary.
laughy. Dispensary, thank you. It's
Yeah.
kind of laughy, jokey, and
Yeah.
I guess I don't associate Sylvester Stallone with like jokey material.
Yeah.
Is maybe the
Yeah.
biggest problem. It's more me than anything else. But I'm laughing. at Sylvester Stallone with these problems. Like, because in my brain, he's he's Rocky. Like, why don't you just punch this guy? Like, I can't
I mean,
can't
I feel like
disassociate the character from the person, unfortunately.
his last good movie was Rambo, and I think I only thought it was good because I was 13 or 14 at the time, and
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. It's
but
it's worth a watch, but it's more so you can laugh
okay,
at it, and you're probably only gonna watch 1 or 2 episodes. It's not. It won't hook you. I
yeah.
don't think. I don't
Well,
think it'll.
I finally watched maybe 3 or 4 episodes of the one that you liked, the oil man or land man or
Landman. Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty good. I don't know if I'll continue
Did he lose
in the
his
last.
finger? No, it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
okay,
I mean, he
yeah.
like ripped it
And it's like,
off.
yeah, it's like, did you do this just so I come back and watch it? 'Cause it was right at the end of the episode. Like, who does this? Like, I
Yeah,
don't need it.
yeah.
Like, sorry, what?
um,
Record scratch.
yeah, and so we on Fridays, my mother and her boyfriend come over for dinner, and we wanted to watch something, and it was on Netflix, and so we got Netflix. Um, and then I started like looking through, what are some of the
Right, right.
shows that look kind of interesting, and I ended up watching one show that I saw a clip of, and it was a very funny clip, and then I
Okay.
watched the first episode, and it was pretty funny. Working Moms.
Oh, I haven't heard of it.
It's a Canadian show.
Oh no, Canadian.
Canadian, yeah. And it's very
Oh, this looks
funny.
cool.
Um,
Season 7. Wow, there's 7 seasons.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And a 7.8 out of 10 on IMDb, which is pretty high for 7 seasons in.
So definitely, I think worth a watch. And then the other one was that my that my mother actually enjoyed watching was Emily in Paris.
My spouse is watching this right now and is
I think
obsessed with
all
it.
the all the co-stars in the show are terrible. The star of the show is great,
Right. Well, the
but
star of the show is the
Paris
drummer. The summer
is the
the
city of
drummers.
Paris,
That's the
and
star of the
and
show.
all the humans in it are terrible, but Paris is
Who's the
beautiful.
drummer who sings in Genesis? Right, Phil
Phil
Collins.
Collins,
I believe that's his
is he in it?
daughter. His
Oh,
daughter is in
really?
it. Yeah, is it Lily Collins? I'm saying
I
this
I
like
don't
my
know.
spouse is probably upstairs, like, what the heck? You don't listen to me when I talk, but I'm pretty sure it's Lily Collins.
Yeah,
Emily,
it's
it is in fact Lily Collins. Yes,
okay.
yes, and somebody from upstairs is saying yes, that is in fact the name. So,
Okay.
interesting fact about the show you're currently watching.
Yeah, I'd say the star of the show is really interesting. Walking around Paris is great.
Paris, yeah.
All the humans in the show I don't enjoy, but
Well, also Paris doesn't look like that, so Parisians, at least at the company I
yeah,
currently work at, are
yeah,
all up in arms because like, please don't come here. It's terrible. It won't look like this. You're gonna be disappointed,
yeah,
and then I have to
yeah,
deal with you.
yeah,
Don't come to Paris. It's crowded.
yeah,
It's dirty. Everybody
yeah.
smokes. It's kind of amazing. The Parisians are like, no, no, that show's our
Yeah,
food. Don't come.
it's like, I mean, when I worked at Open Text, when I was based in Amsterdam,
Yeah.
I used to go to Paris probably. I drive to Paris maybe every 2 months, every 3 months. I drive over,
Mhm.
and so I've gone to Paris maybe uh, 30, 40 times.
Oh
Within
wow.
a
Okay.
10 within a 8-year period,
Nice.
staying for 2, 3 nights, 4 nights, and so wandering around the streets a lot,
And this
and
is
it's definitely a
15 years
dirtier.
ago.
15 years, yeah.
Yeah. It's only gotten
Um,
worse, right? I guess is what you're
yeah,
getting at.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's like all the good parts in your memory are in
Right.
this show. Yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
it's fun. It's fun.
Maybe it's sponsored by the government of France or something like
Yeah,
that, you know.
who knows? Who
Get
knows?
some tourism dollars.
But
I've heard
that's
it's
all
pretty
I've
good.
been.
The other thing that's interesting about Netflix is they're starting to have more series that are coming out of like Asia Pacific. So there's
Mm,
like South Korean series, there's Japanese
hmm.
series. I think you've seen a
Yeah,
Chinese series in there as well. So they're starting to get that market.
yeah.
What's cool for me is that I can like watch newer anime. They're not great. They're
Hmm.
still pulpy, but there's one in there about volleyball that I kind of got
Oh yeah.
into for a little bit. Karasu or something like that. It was
Hmm.
interesting, or EQ or something like that. Anyway, but there are some. interesting shows that I wouldn't expect
I
on Netflix. Sorry, go
yeah.
ahead.
No, I watched this first episode of the second season of Squid Game.
Okay, why? Oh
The
wait, have you seen the
first
first season?
the first season I loved. I thought it was great. I
Okay,
really
okay.
enjoyed the first season.
I couldn't get through the
The
first
first
episode.
episode of the second season, I was like, what the hell? I mean,
Yeah,
okay, I
same.
understand it's a hard to continue, but what was the point of this?
Yeah, the first episode was terrible. I think I fell asleep 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't
So
cutting it for me.
yeah,
Not good.
but it's exciting to have Netflix again, and I'm looking forward to finally watching that Three Body Problem. I
Would
was
would
excited.
recommend it. Yeah.
I was excited that the click on to the next thing to the next to the next, and they have like a little snippet that plays in the kind of the hero image, of
hmm The banner,
a
yeah.
clip, yeah, and the scene that they showed was the mass of men, soldiers in the field that were the human computer, and
Yes. Yes.
that was the one scene that resonated with me most in the book, and
Oh,
like
okay.
that was of all the scenes that's like stuck with me. That was the main thing that stuck with me in the book, and after like 14 episodes of the other series that was on what Amazon Prime or somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I think it was only like maybe a third of the episodes that I actually watched.
Yeah.
And the whole story in there is like, I don't remember any of this stuff in the book. It's
Right.
probably a truer representation of the book, but I don't remember any of that because it was so hard
Right.
to read, and I just didn't remember any of those things happening. But that one scene on the Netflix like trailer is like, oh yeah, that was my
Yeah.
favorite. I'm looking
It's
forward to
it's
this.
memorable for those who haven't seen it. It's kind of like maybe like Factorio, basically. So you're using like a bunch of things to create like
Yeah,
this massive computer. It's really
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, and they were doing a ternary calculus, I think, like base 3 instead of base 2 or base 10.
Oh
Anyway, it
yeah.
was
Oh
there's
yeah.
an interesting wrinkle into the way they were doing the math as well
Right.
in order to solve the problem, which I thought was kind of
Yeah.
interesting. But like, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
start from first principles. I need, what was it, 5,000? It's like I just need 50,000 more.
Yeah.
Like just 100,000 more people, and I'll be able to solve this
Yeah.
problem. And it
Yeah.
ends up with this like massive
It was, and it
base.
looked really cool. I mean,
It
in
did, and
that
it
like
looked real.
20 seconds of a trailer piece. Yeah.
That's all you need. Yeah,
Yeah.
to like to sort of
Yeah.
pound the idea
Yeah.
home. Yeah, I thought it was good.
Yeah.
The other one that I really thought was dumb in the book, and I was like, there's no way they're gonna put this into the TV series because they can't. I think I talked about this before, but it's like the ship that they
Uh-huh.
cut in half or something with these like nano wires. It's
Right.
so
Right.
dumb. It's like there's a lot of things on this ship that are
Yeah.
going to be cut by these wires, and then anyway they go
Yeah.
downstairs, and somehow the ship hasn't completely exploded, and they're rescuing people and stuff. I was like, this doesn't make any sense at all, but whatever. We'll go
Yeah.
along. It'll be fun. Yeah. We did have
Um.
some comments in the chat that, sorry,
Oh yeah.
I glossed over. One was from Neil saying the gulf between creating an app and securing an app is large. Totally agree. I feel like
Yep.
that's kind of the point, or even the debugging process. Just because you've made something, the debugging could be like a long tail
Right.
that's 90% of working with it. And then
Yep.
No Name is just basically telling you that they love the channel. I think people watch the ego, No Name. That's gonna get too excited. Yeah, I think that comment came in after we stopped talking about our vacations and being sick.
Yeah. Yeah. I I read a book recently.
Ooh,
Last what's it called? Last Dance of the um God, what's this book called?
the Romanovs of the
No.
Night, the
Uh,
Debutante.
no. We're looking at the same drop down. Um the Last Dance of the Oh God. My browser's not coming up.
Detective Miller case? No.
Um
Mary Kelly?
What are
No.
the characters? The characters are
How did you read
Indigo
it?
and Indigo and Azure.
That's weird.
Last romance.
A true love story?
The Last Tale of the Flower Bride.
Not even close. Last Hail. All right, we got you on the
Last
flower bride.
Tale of the Flower Bride
How was it?
by
Hail
Roshani
is in like the.
Chokshi. Last
Okay,
Tale, Tale.
gotcha.
Last Tale of the Flower Bride. So a few weeks ago, Tony and I were in Seattle for the weekend.
Mm,
Um, and I might have mentioned this. We went to this bookstore that was
okay.
incredible. Uh, it was not organized like any other bookstore you've ever been in. It's
Awesome.
not by the fiction section and the
Okay.
nonfiction section and the sci-fi section. It was um, books that make you want to come back to read right away.
Oh,
And it's not,
nice.
20 books on that. And then books that make your heart flutter or whatever. And it's got
Mm,
a bunch of books like that. And it's this person has read all these books and has come up with these categories that
that's
no
cool.
one else in the world would ever come up with. And so you just sit there, it's like, oh, okay, this is a section that resonate. I can't remember what section I was in, but resonates with
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
and I like pick one, and that looks interesting, and pick another one, and you see how it's sort of related but different.
Hmm.
um, and so it's just amazing collection. And this one book, The Last Tale of the Flower Bride,
Hmm.
I picked up because the description sounded amazing. And I finally, it took me a while to go through it, but it was a beautifully written, an incredible story. Um, Basically about a guy meets somebody, gets to know her, but doesn't really get to know her, and then really doesn't get to know her. And then
Right.
uh, and the house is part of the one of the main characters, and just a fantastic story. So
Now,
well
now
worth the
this
read.
is Gothic horror. Do you normally read Gothic horror? Because I don't
No,
think I've ever read
no,
any Gothic
I've
horror
never,
novels. Okay,
never.
that's kind of cool though. The
Yeah,
other is that it's like it's mystery, romance, fiction, which is also
it
like three
is.
genres
Yeah,
that I.
not something I would ever read.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's kind of
None
cool.
of those things are at all what
Yeah,
I want to read.
yeah, same here. If you describe this book that way, I'd be like,
Yeah,
nah, this is not for me.
yeah,
But
no,
I think that the fact that the bookstore owner had categorized these in
yeah,
weird ways enhanced the discoverability, if that
yeah,
makes sense. It's almost like they're a
yeah.
sommelier kind of the
Yes,
books
yes,
for you.
yes.
Very, very interesting. I like that.
An
You
amazing
don't get a lot of that
bookstore.
human approach
Yeah,
anymore, right?
yeah.
It's normally like, yeah, New York Times
And
bestseller is what Goodreads says about this book and stuff like that.
yeah, and she was just about to move from that location to a new, bigger location, and she was excited because she'll now have a place to actually store boxes of books. Right now, when we were in there, her entire, what you saw is everything she had in the store. There was no storage. She's just got a few
It's
books,
all there.
all there. Yeah,
That's really cool. All right,
yeah,
folks, you heard it here first. The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by
yeah.
Roshani Chokshi. Looks really
So
good.
I'm definitely going to. Apparently, it's her first adult book. So I guess that she
Oh,
has mostly
okay.
written like young adult, young adult fiction or stuff. I don't know what the category is, but um, but I might be worth looking at other books by her.
Gotcha.
Um,
Yeah, I found it weird that it was in the adult category. I was like, that's an odd
yeah,
specification. But yeah, if they
not
probably
not
have like
like
young
not
adults
like
after that.
triple X type stuff, adult, but
No, no, no,
just
just
like
for actual adults.
18-year-old.
As opposed to, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
the young
yeah,
adult fiction that's there.
yes.
Very interesting.
Which, I mean, Tony was reading a bunch of young adult stuff.
That can be pretty
Uh,
advanced.
it's
Yeah.
pretty. There's a lot of sex in these things.
Really?
My God.
I used to use like or read, sorry, R.L. Stein and
Uh
stuff like
huh.
that. More of like baby horror, so like
Uh huh.
watered down Stephen King kind of stuff. I guess is
Yeah.
what I read for young adult when I was younger. But I haven't read like mystery since, in fact,
Yeah.
young adult. That just not my genre.
Yeah. No.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, shall we find
All
the
right.
end
I think we
stream
should
button?
find the end button.
Let's do
Well,
it.
thanks. This was fun.
Thank you. Sorry for starting a bit late, folks. I was having a nap and woke up a little bit later than I expected. Hopefully the sound wasn't too bad.
Not too bad. All right. Click on the finish.